All right, all right, all right. Welcome in to Toilets, Two Titles, episode number 10, right? I got 10 fingers up, 10 episodes. I am your host, John Schepps. You can find me on Twitter at Coach Schepps. And to my right is, or if you're looking at it on the computer, to my left, Justin Stevens at Justin FF underscore Justin. How are we doing, my man?
Wonderful, wonderful. Just found out they're opening the schools back up on Monday. So as a substitute teacher, I like the fact that I'm going to be getting back. But yeah, I'm excited. Excited to see the kids again.
Awesome, man. That means some tennis, right? For your son.
Yeah,
Your
yeah,
son.
Peyton. Yeah,
He's
my
gonna
boy.
be able
Yep,
to,
he's fighting to get a spot on the first doubles team. So
varsity.
yeah, excited. Yeah, varsity. I had his racket restrung. Just picked that up this morning, so he's ready to get out there and blast it.
Oh man, you got your racket restrung. You better be ready to blast it.
That's right.
All right, guys, you can find us on Twitter at Toilets to Titles. Our co-host who isn't here, our sometimes co-host, that's at Nate underscore Dirt 19. How can you listen to Toilets to Titles, you might be asking? Well, if you're asking this while I'm speaking, you're listening somehow. But some of the other ways you can listen to us live, we're on YouTube, all right? And you can find our YouTube link. We shared on Twitter, all that stuff. I'm going to share it on the Podbean notes, iTunes notes, so you could listen to us live on YouTube. Apple Podcasts we're on right now. Podbean we're on right now. We're on Periscope, and I believe we're on Spotify. I think that got put through. So we're really, climbing up the ranks here. And today, what we're doing for you is we decided it's almost August, right? It's the last day of July. It's perfect time for rankings. And we kind of have some ranking news that's kind of new news to us that we just discussed prior to this. But before we get into that, our rankings, we're doing quarterbacks today. We'll be talking running backs, wide receivers, tight ends. We'll get all of our rankings out there, and it's accumulative. We each did our own rankings, and then we put them together and we averaged it out. So over the next week or two, we'll probably do another 2 or 3 episodes. And then now, before I get further in that, next week we got Shane Hallam and Bob Harris coming on. And I figure it's going to be the start of August. It's redraft season. So to kick it into redraft high gear, what we're going to do is we're going to do a live mock draft, probably 10 to 12 rounds. Nothing too far with instant analysis, probably about an hour and a half long. But I think it's going to be the perfect food for thought for all of you that are getting ready for redraft season. So like I said, Justin, do you want to give the ranking news? Do you think it's okay to let this bird out of the cage here?
Are you talking about for our individual team breakdowns?
No, I was talking about where are they going to be able to find?
Yes, yeah. I just got off the phone with the guy that we had on last week, Joshua from Fusion Fantasy Football, and he has been so kind and gracious as to let us put our rankings that we're going to be going over these next few episodes, next few weeks. We're going to be able to post our rankings on his website. And we may even be incorporating some of his own rankings to make like an average between the two. So we are collaborating together with Fusion Fantasy Football. And that's what Joshua does. He fuses everybody together. So I'm kind of looking forward to it. It's I've worked with Joshua a little bit in the past, and I'm excited about it because his website is very no nonsense. It's very direct to the point. You get all the information, all the facts you need. It's the opposite of this show. Like, we're about joking around and having fun and maybe throw in some football. There, it's about the numbers, it's about the articles, and you can get your information there and then come and have a laugh with us later.
Well, I'm very grateful of Joshua for letting us, doing the work. It's one thing to post discuss your rankings over YouTube or over, a podcast, but it's cool that these are going to be somewhere that if you are interested, you can go and find it. All right. So we'll get that. We'll post the links, once we get them up. But now you'll be able to hear them. So today we're doing quarterback redraft rankings. So we're going to get into some Frankenstein talk. And August 1st, so tomorrow, we're going to be finalizing who all is in the league. I might drag that out. Tomorrow's August 1st. So Monday, I might give everybody till Monday. Justin, if you're okay with that. August 3rd, we're going to announce and finalize who all is in. We have 2 more listener spots open. 2. That's it. Okay. And the only ways to get in is we're going to give 1 spot away to if we hit 75 subscribers on YouTube, we're at 51. So I might dial it down to 55. If we could hit 55 by Monday, that's only 4 more. I'm going to give one away. We're going to give one away. But now when you subscribe, take a screen cap of your subscribe, send it over to us. All right. So 55. Boom. I'm making it audible right on the fly. And then if we hit 300 followers on Twitter, we're at about 242. Let's go 250. 8 more followers. And we're going to get, so it's either whichever happens first. 55 subscribers on YouTube or 250 followers on Twitter. Screen cap, DM it to us at Toilets to Titles, and then we're going to pick one of those people, all right? We're also going to be giving the other one away, so that's one way to get one. The other one away, we already have 7 reviews on Apple Podcasts. So the best Apple Podcast review, that we're giving a spot away. Get your review in, screen cap it, and send it to us, all right? Because we need to have receipts. We need to know that we can, because we have reviews, but sometimes it's hard to, who wrote this, because they'll have like like Grassman38. I don't know if that's also your Twitter handle. That's your Apple Podcast review name. So we need to be able to attach one to the other. All right. So that's the ways to get in. Again, I'm extending it to August 3rd, and then it's on. Because we're going to be like, we got rock, paper, scissors competitions to get started. We got to decide draft order. We got to get MFL set up. We got to get League Safe set up. And we got to get going. And it's like, we're going to be looking down the pipe. Things are going to be starting to fly once August hits. Also, Fantasy Cares, we hit our first mark of 50 followers. Okay, so it's not up yet on fantasycares.net to make the donation. So we're just going to keep a running total. All right, and then once it becomes open, it's probably be around the holiday season. That's when we'll make the donation. But right now, we hit our first mark. Okay, and like I said, it was $10 per 50. So we hit that milestone. The next milestone is 289. All right, once we hit that, we're going to go up another 10. We're at 246. So dang, I said we were at 242 earlier for the Frankenstein League, but I adjusted this like right before the episode. So actually we're at 246. We're only 4 away from 250. But the mark that we need to hit for another 10 is it's 289, I believe. Yep, 289. So we're only about 43 followers away. So enough for specifics and finances and all this other jargon. Let's get into fantasy football talk. Before I created a Schepps Needs Help segment this week, but before we do that, I want to have some fun. I know you're starting a segment for us weekly, and I want you to explain it, and let's get into it.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know it was going to be weekly. I thought maybe we would try it out a little bit, but we'll see. But my segment that I'd like to start off with is called Toilet Literature, and my basis behind this is like whenever like when you're a kid and you always wonder why your dad spent so much time in the bathroom, and then now we're adults and we all have kids, and now we may not even have to go to the bathroom, and we go there just to get away from the madness sometimes. And obviously back then they were watching or reading magazines or reading newspaper articles or whatever, and for us in our generation it's Twitter. So I'm going to spend a little extra time on the toilet from time to time and try to see if I can't find some interesting things to talk about from Twitter. And if I do, I will make sure to give you full credit. If you have something on Twitter that intrigues me enough to bring onto the show, I'll tag you and everything whenever we post the show. So the first thing I saw that was extremely interesting to me, and mostly because it was a poll, and I voted in this poll, and the one that I voted for got second. The one that won makes sense, but I really want to talk about fourth place here. But the poll was on the best or the greatest golf movies of all time, and the options were Happy Gilmore, Caddyshack, Tin Cup, or the Legend of Bagger Vance. So what interests me there is that the really probably the best and the most intriguing movie on there. I don't know, the probably the best written, the best shot would have to be The Legend of Bagger Vance, but it only got 21 votes out of 353 votes. And I mean, admittedly, I didn't vote for it because I enjoy the comedies and I'm more old school, so I went with Caddyshack. This poll was posted by Stephen Spaccaratelli at SSPA21. And so the fact that I had 353 votes is what caught my eye because clearly he has a decent following here to get that many votes. And I knew that it would be a more accurate reading. So I thought for sure The Legend of Bagger Vance would be up there. But what do you think, Coach, about this poll? Which one would you choose as the greatest golf movie of all time?
I've only seen Happy Gilmore. I don't play golf. Golf isn't my thing. So Happy Gilmore's funny, but I get tired of Adam Sandler, you know?
Yeah.
So that was definitely a funny movie. I almost can't differentiate between Happy Gilmore and what's the other one where he goes to Billy Madison?
Yeah, Billy Madison.
The same, you know? They're just
the biggest difference there is that you have Bob Barker in Happy Gilmore, and that scene is amazing, where he fights Bob Barker.
And then also the dude who gets his hand bitten off by an alligator, right?
Yeah, the coach. But just so you know, those other three movies, Caddyshack is obviously just a cheesy, raunchy comedy, and that's my sort of thing. That's why I voted for it. But those other two movies are actually really good movies. It's not just golf. Like, if you're not into golf, you'll still really like those two movies. I can guarantee it. And
maybe again, I'll watch Legend of Bagger Vance. Maybe I'll give that a shot.
Yeah, definitely. That's more of an actual. I don't know. It pulls on the heartstrings a little bit. It's well written. It's a great movie. But all right. So the next thing that caught my eye was Fantasy Pros at Fantasy Pros. They posted their rankings of the top 20 tight ends, and I had a laugh when I saw the response by Eric Ebron here, and his quote was, "I play fantasy, and I promise you, I'm taking myself before 85% of this list, maybe 95%. What that breaks down to is he's saying that he's going to be at best the tight end 3, at worst the tight end 5, out of that list. Essentially putting himself right behind. Tight end 2 and tight end 4. So he's putting himself at worst behind Kelsey, Kittle, and Andrews.
Come on.
Yeah. So
he's gassing himself up. Like if you need to motivate yourself by going in on fantasy football rankings, no one believes you. You probably don't even believe yourself. You know what I mean? Like athletes do that stuff to get themselves going. Deep down, when you put your head on your pillow at night, you know you're not better. You're not even in the same category, as Kelsey, Kittle, or Ertz. You're not even in that category. And then I wouldn't even put you in the category of Ertz's backup is Dallas Goedert. I take Goedert, clearly over you. Come on.
Yeah, but I do like the arrogance. Not the arrogance. That's a bad choice of words. The confidence. I like the confidence. I like that he's going to build himself up. It means he has hope for the Steelers with Big Ben back. I mean, I guess I'll give you that. But come on, man. You do play fantasy football, so you see your own numbers.
I do think it's arrogant. It's arrogant when it's not. It doesn't have. He doesn't have a foot to stand on.
Yeah.
It's not like.
Or a hand to catch with.
Yeah. So I mean, it is arrogant. It's arrogant when you're clearly, not looking at facts. You're overlooking facts just because you're drinking your own Kool-Aid. Come on.
Yeah. So when we put this up, though, we're gonna at the Fantasy Pros so they can throw in their 2 cents if they'd like. But we can also go ahead and throw in the let's see, I wrote it down here at Ebron85 if you want to give him your feedback as well. You go to at Fantasy Pros and scroll down there. I mean, he was talking with some other people in that thread too, so he's willing to talk to you about it. I'm not just throwing him out there to throw him under the bus.
stop talking and start working, catching balls from the jugs machine.
Yeah, maybe he has moved on. Who knows? Maybe he had to report to camp. The final thing here was at Andrew Hall FF. If you don't follow Andrew Hall on Twitter, you should. He's actually a really good follow. He writes articles for ProFootballNetwork.com. I've read a few of his articles. I'm not going to go into this one in detail because I just want to kind of tease it so that you'll actually go out and read the article. But his article is about Miles Sanders potentially being a top 3 fantasy running back in 2020. He does have a lot of good information out there. Obviously, I'm not just throwing that out there to poke the bear at you, John. I know you completely disagree with this this idea, but I do kind of wish that he would have been a little bit more firm with his belief when he was writing this, but he very clearly states, this is an opinion. This is something I think could happen. And he's not really, taking a stance on it, but the information that he puts out there, it can get you to thinking if you're even remotely a believer like I am, it just kind of gets your gears running even more. So,
anything could happen, if we're going to say could, like things, it could happen, yes. He could, is it probable? Is it expected? Those are terms that but I'm over all that. I'm just ready for football to start. I know it's still a month away, but there's a point in the season or in the off season where, when you're debating with somebody, it's almost just like I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about in general. Like, we could say all we want to,
right,
but games are going to be played and things are going to happen, and then we'll be able to see, who was right and who was wrong. And this is one of those things I'm ready to just say, let's see. I took my stance, and especially, at this time of year, usually we're watching training camp videos, there's hype, and you could kind of adjust your, like Tyreek Hill going into his second year. I was lucky enough to own him in most of my leagues because I got him as an undrafted free agent in my dynasty leagues because he was killing it in preseason. And I remember I was arguing with this one cat in one of my leagues who was like, he's never going to become a wide receiver. He's just going to be a gadget guy. And I was watching him, he was working on his routes. He was he was expanding his route tree, and it was clear and evident going into year 2 that he was going to be more than just a gadget guy. So, there is something to be said about, watching that stuff. And, people fall in love with guys, seeing them catch a ball with one hand with shorts on. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, like, watching their movement. Watch how they're moving on the field. Watch how they're being used. Are they being used with the first team? Are they being used with the second team? Are they being put in different positions? Slot, outside. Is he running the ball in between the tackles? Is he running the ball outside the tackles? Like things like that. And we don't really have that right now. So, again, that's why I'm kind of just saying we'll see how it goes. All right.
You're saying I shouldn't get too aggressively excited about Antonio Gandy Golden's one-handed catch in shorts the other day.
You know what? You could get super if that's what makes you – that's what's making you tick right now. We got enough bad in the world right now. I don't want to tell you not to get excited. Get excited. Right. Get excited. I'm just saying – I have your level of excitement. You know what I mean?
I have of him. I just, based off of what little I do know about him, what little I've seen from his college, and that catch alone, I'm excited to see if he can blow up in the NFL for sure.
Man, that Redskins team is interesting. I like Antonio Gibson. I like Darius Geis. I really like that defense. It'll be fun when we do our team breakdowns of did we get into the team breakdowns yet?
We haven't discussed it to the listeners yet.
Do you want to let them know what to expect? Do you want to give them a little brief taste of what we got coming down the pipe for that?
Sure. So we are going to do our absolute best to get all 32 teams in before the season starts, but we are going to do like a quick breakdown of each individual team. That way we're not
20 minutes, something short.
Yeah, real short, 15, 20. That way we're not overloading and taking up a huge amount of your time, because you as the listener, you may not care or give 2 cents about what's going on with the Seahawks. Maybe you're just watching this show because you're a 49ers fan and you want to see what the 49ers have going for them for this season. Maybe you're confident in your beliefs and confident in what you know about the Philadelphia Eagles, and you don't want to hear what we have to say about them, but maybe you're kind of interested to see what we have to say about that whole mess of, say, Raiders wide receivers. We don't know who the number 1 or the number 4 is going to be, and it could be the same guy throughout the season, but maybe you need a little bit more information on that. And so you
Renfro, baby.
That's right.
Renfro season. I'm on board.
And Renfro is my number 4 on that list out of the 4 of them, but barely under Ruggs, who's number 1 on that list for me. So I've got them ranked all real close together. So who knows? Like you said, we'll see how it plays out. But that's what it's going to be about, and hopefully we can get all 32 of those, every one of us on each one of those shows. So we'll go over one and then move on to the next, and then try to knock out some quick short videos. So hopefully I can figure out the editing part on our end first before we get rolling with that. So I'll be working on that today.
And we're going to try to come up with a template, like an outline, so you know what to expect. If you've listened to one of these episodes, you're going to know what to expect when listening to the others, because it's going to be the 3 of us. We're going to each take teams. So I don't want it to be each one is completely different. I want you to know going into the episode, the structure of it. So, because if it's going to be quick and to the point, I want you to be ready for it, so you know what you're going to get out of it, so that you can listen and it's efficient. Now, before we go into the main topic for the day, where we're going to be talking about quarterback rankings, I came up with a segment called Schepps Needs Help. And this is just for today. I'm in one keeper league, all right? And it's a 10-team, keep one, non-PPR standard scoring. You start 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 1 tight end, and 2 flex. There are bonuses for lengths of touchdown from 2 to 5 points. Last year, I went into this draft like a dummy. If you look at some of the moves I made in this draft, you'd slap me in the face. So I guess I didn't realize it was standard. I had the 5th overall pick. I was kind of pissed off because I took over an orphan. I don't know if you'd call it an orphan because you only keep 1, but there was nobody worth keeping on this team because you can only keep a guy. So say you took a guy in the 10th, you have to give up around 4 rounds earlier. So you can't take anybody that you took in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, or 4th, okay? So I don't even remember. I think I kept James White last year, which ended up not working. I drafted DeAndre Hopkins in the 1st, Odell in the 2nd, Kittle in the 3rd. This year I'm going to go in and go run heavy. That being said, again, you have to give up draft capital 4 rounds prior to your pick. Last year I took DJ Moore in the 9th and Devin Singletary in the 11th, okay? If I wanted to keep DJ Moore, I'm giving up a 5th. If I want to keep Devin Singletary, I'm giving up a 7th. Justin, I need some help, man.
Well, I play in I actually do still have a few standard leagues that I play in. And my main league of record with my buddies, that one league that I absolutely desire to win over all the others every year just for bragging rights because I see these guys on a regular basis. It's a standard league, and I can tell you right now that almost every single year in the first 4 rounds, I'm going to have at least 3 running backs, and typically by the 8th round, I have at least 4, if not 5, running backs if I can get starters up that high. I will draft typically 1 wide receiver by the 4th round at some point. So from looking at these 2 options, I would say I'm going to keep Devin Singletary because at that point, he's going to be my 3rd or 4th, probably my 4th running back, and he's still going to be the starter. He's still going to have solid production throughout the season as a number 4 running back. And with DJ Moore, keeping him at the 5th, I think that's good value. Don't get me wrong, because he's going in like the 3rd, maybe 4th round in most drafts. So it is still a good value. But if you're going to be getting a wide receiver in that 3rd or 4th round, it might be DJ Moore anyway. He might be the guy that you're drafting there, and it's just a round or 2 sooner than if you would have kept him. But with Devin Singletary, if you don't keep him, you're not getting him when it comes to that 4th, 5th round because running backs are king and they're going to go off the board real quick. So that's kind of my logic. That's why I would probably lean heavily towards Singletary.
I like it. All right, Devin Singletary it is. I drafted Darius Geis in the 6th, I want to say. I was hoping that was going to pan out. I'm not keeping him for a second. No way.
For a second.
I took Justice Hill at the end of the draft. I thought that would pan out in like the 14th round. You know, as guy I could have next year. I drafted Darwin Thompson in the 13th round, hoping that would pan out. And those aren't guys. I got Darrell Williams.
Maybe Darwin Thompson in the 9th is a little more intriguing now.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Maybe Williams opting out.
It's interesting, but I also got Darrell Williams, the other running back from LSU in Kansas City. So I think I'm going to go Singletary. If I look at it as I got my RB3 in the 7th, you know, if he's my third running back, I'll be happy.
Right.
All right. So enough helping Schepps. Let's help everybody else. All right. We are going to go over our top 25 fantasy football quarterbacks for the 2020 redraft / single season. So this is one season. This isn't dynasty. So it could be one season in dynasty, or it could just be redraft completely. So we threw this together last week. We each ranked our top 25 quarterbacks, and then we averaged it out. So Justin, why don't you start? You know, I don't know if you want to go with yours or just go with our average. You know.
We'll just go down the average list, and then like if somebody was way off or something, or if there's somebody we want to talk about, we'll mention it.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, cool. So obviously with your top-notch guys, in my mind, you have two tiers at the top. You've got tier 1 and tier 2, and I think that Mahomes and Jackson and Dak are all kind of in that top tier of those top 3. Obviously with Mahomes and Jackson really pulling away with it in my mind, not so much in yours, obviously, because you got Dak over Lamar, which even still, again, like I say, you can't argue that. That's the top tier. Those are your top 3. Whatever order you want to put them in, that's up to you. And then Murray, Wilson, and Watson are going to be 4, 5, and 6.
Well, why don't we discuss the top tier? You know, I know that you had Mahomes. You and Nate had Mahomes and Jackson first and second, and I had Dak third. I'm sorry, I had Dak second, where you had Dak third and Nate had Dak fourth. The reason why I'm putting Dak second is because I like his weapons more than I like Lamar's. I like Lamar's feet more than I like Mahomes, and I like Dak's feet more than I like Mahomes. So, you know, I like Dak's weapons better than Lamar's, and I like Dak's feet better than Mahomes. So I feel like he's right between the two. You know, I think Dak's going to do a lot more through the air. I think you're going to see a little bit of a downtick on Lamar as far as running goes this season. I do think you're going to see, you know, a good combination. You know, Ingram's still going to eat. Gus Edwards still going to eat. And I'm sorry, I'm spacing. Swift. I'm sorry, Dobbins.
Dobbins.
He's going to eat too. So I get him and Swift mixed up all the time. So I think you're going to see a little bit of a downtick on Lamar Jackson's running numbers this year. I still think he's going to be top 5. You know, clearly I have him as number 3, but I think Dak, you know, I'm thinking like MVP type season. I mean, he's playing for money. You know, they didn't pay him. He's getting a lot of money. He's franchised, but it's the type of year where a guy like him could just blow up, win MVP, and then go break the bank. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like I said, I have no problem with putting Dak there at number 2, but you also have Jackson as number 3, and in my mind, I know he's going to have regression. There's no way he can keep up that same kind of season. But at the same time, he didn't really lose much with that offense. He only gained more, and I get that that running game's going to be better with Dobbins back there. They've got 3 solid guys that can run the ball, and Justice Hill that they're still going to try to give some opportunity to. But I just don't think that hurts them enough to take away. I mean, they gave him Duvernay as a wide receiver, a second year for what's the other wide receiver, second year?
Hollywood Brown.
Yeah, Hollywood. So, I mean, I even with the regression, I see him having an outstanding season again. And
yeah, I wish they would have done more for him at the wide receiver position, though. You know, I wish they would have drafted somebody. I think I've said it before. I would have really liked to see Chenault in this offense. You know, I think he was there. They had an opportunity, you know, passing on him. I think it would have been a great weapon to put alongside Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, but they did still focus on that defense a little bit during the draft too, and the defense is already pretty solid. But I think they want to keep that good defense to continue to give him the best field position possible as well. So, I mean, I guess it kind of helps him that way. But even with the regression, I don't necessarily see Jackson as finishing as the number one overall quarterback, but his big game capability, those big boom games, are games that you're going to win when you have them, and that's why I have him number one. Because even his bad games aren't going to be that bad. He's got a huge floor. I could definitely see Mahomes outscoring him this season, being healthy all season. With Dak, they did nothing but add extra help to him. So Dak's going to be amazing again. I had him listed as number 3 on my list. Definitely could see him up there in that top 1 or 2, though, for sure.
What's the next?
Wish we had Nate on so that he could explain why he would go Murray over Dak, because that next tier is Murray, Wilson, and Watson. And while I mean, obviously we could see a world where Murray could outperform Dak, but just like you and I both said, I only see Dak getting better this year. And Murray, maybe that was his consideration behind Murray. Maybe he thinks Murray will be that much better with Hopkins and Drake full time, but who knows?
All right, so we got Murray, Wilson, Watson. I think that was my 4, 5, 6. Like you said, Nate had Murray 3rd, Wilson 6th, and Watson 5th. You had Murray 6th, Wilson 4th, and Watson 5th. So, I mean, if you're playing 2 QB, any one of those guys as your QB1, you're going to be happy with. And I think they're all young.
Right.
They're all swinging upward. But Watson scares me a little bit just because I have no idea what that offense is going to look like. Murray, getting Hopkins there, having Larry Fitzgerald, Christian Kirk developing a little bit more. I think I'm a little more comfortable with him than I am with Watson. And then Wilson, I got right in the middle of the two. What are your thoughts between Murray and Watson?
Between Murray and Watson, it's extremely close to me. But I believe that when they brought on Drake, they actually focused so much. They were so run heavy with Drake. And I don't know what it is about that offensive line with the Cardinals, but when David Johnson was back there early on in the season, he didn't perform bad. Like, he did pretty decent before he got hurt, but they weren't ranked very high. Their offensive line was not ranked very high in the run. But then whenever Drake comes in, all of a sudden they become a running powerhouse. Like, I don't understand what the difference was. Maybe Drake was a little bit more patient. Maybe he was better at hitting the holes than David Johnson was. But then they just became so run centric. And I know having Hopkins out there can only help. He's only going to be able to help Murray, but I don't know. At the same time, Murray's still a second-year guy. He's still trying to get his feet wet in the NFL. Wilson is going to be your constantly up there in the top 10 quarterbacks every single week. Watson, I know Watson lost Hopkins, but I mean, Watson's wide receiving core is not bad. He's got Cooks and Fuller and Stills. Like, if these guys stay healthy, even if they can rotate staying healthy, I mean, they're still talented. They're boomer bust guys. He should get a lot of deep touchdowns this way with
Cooks. Stay healthy. That kid, if he could just not get another concussion. I don't mean to laugh about that. But just I guess a strange thing to say. He could be a top 15 wide receiver.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel the same way about Fuller.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean that's interesting, and then I think next year they got to draft somebody. They got to draft a wide receiver. They need to give Watson some help,
Yeah, but Brian keeps trading away all the draft picks too, though.
I don't know what this guy. All right, so the next tier we got Breeze, Ryan, and Rodgers. So this is where age starts to come in. We were very young at the top. Wilson was probably, as oddly as that sounds, one of the older guys in the top 6 there. And then we got Breeze, Ryan, Rodgers. Ryan we have at 8th, but you had Matt Ryan 15th. So let's hear, your thoughts on Matt Ryan.
Yeah, I guess I kind of got some explaining to do with this one, huh? So you guys, John, you had him at 7, and Nate had him at 8, and our average for him was at 8. I mean, I don't know. I think after those first 6, it doesn't really matter so much. So I'm mainly looking for upside. I'm looking for more steady, consistent guys. And Ryan has unbelievable weapons. Don't get me wrong. He's going to have all the opportunity, but they bring in Todd Gurley, and I know Todd Gurley can catch the ball out of the backfield, but I have this feeling that they're going to try to utilize Todd Gurley with everything they possibly can, because they haven't had much of a running game. Like even with Devonta Freeman, they've never been able to run the ball very well in that offense, and I think that they want to try to set that up. I think they're going to try to focus on that. Let Ryan rest his arm. Not rest his arm. That's a bad term, but be a little bit more choosy about when he's going to throw and where he's going to throw. He may be more efficient. He'll probably be great for Scott Fishbowl this season, but I don't know. That secondary. The secondaries that they're going to be playing in that division are really weak. There's absolutely no logical sense why I would have Ryan here, other than it's just a feeling. I see a run-centric offense here, and I don't think that they're going to force the throw unless they absolutely have to. Just a hunch, I guess.
All right. Well, I mean, again, it's fair to say, like, right in the middle here, a lot of these guys are kind of clustered together, but I was the highest on Ryan out of the 3 of us. So, I just think, Calvin Ridley is emerging. Julio Jones is still a dude. So, Hayden Hurst, he's blocking and receiving tight end. I just think it's going to be business as usual for Matt Ryan. So I think he's guaranteed to have a top 10. I think, I'd bank on him having a top 10 year, and I feel pretty safe with that, especially in redraft. As long as he stays healthy, I think the offensive line is going to get a little bit better. And I think, the running game with Todd Gurley will help him. Defense will come up, staff the box. Julio Jones is going to be double teamed, but that should open things up for Calvin Ridley and Hayden Hurst. So, I'm just pretty comfortable with the guy. After him, we had Rodgers, who you had as your 8th overall. Nate had as 10th, and I had 12th. So I guess I'll explain, since I was the furthest down on Rodgers. Outside of Devontae Adams, I just don't know who he's throwing the football to. Alan Lazard is okay. Marquez Valdez-Scantling is okay. Jay Sternberger, he's good, but Aaron Rodgers has shown in the past he doesn't use tight ends. So, and now they drafted A.J. Dillon. So you got Aaron Jones, you got A.J. Dillon. I think they're going to do a decent amount of running. Their defense is playing well. They're playing more like an NFC North team than they have in years past. And what I mean by that is tough defense, run the football, keep the ball out of the opponent's hands. I think we're going to see more of that. So I think Rodgers is going to be startable because I have him as 12. So that's still a QB1. But I'm not reaching for him like I used to. I'll feel safe with him in. I don't feel great with him in. I feel safe with him in, if that makes sense. High floor.
Yeah, no, definitely. I get that. I was the highest on Rodgers, but for me, it's mainly that that anger factor that I think we're going to see from Rodgers. That they went out and drafted Love in the first round, late in the first round, just like he was drafted to come in and replace.
And he came out and said that, like, I don't know if you heard, but he was on the radio the other day, and he said that Favre had said he was thinking about retiring, and Rodgers fell to 26th or whatever.
Right.
And Rodgers said this on the radio, and he's like,
right.
You moved up for Love.
Right.
I haven't mentioned anything about retiring.
Right.
So he's like, it's not the same situation. So he's clearly feeling some sort of way about it. I didn't factor that in. So he does have a lot to prove. But again, he's another guy where they really could have done something to help him out, man. They could. I forget what number they drafted at, but there were tons of wide receivers in the first round. Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb. I don't know when they picked. I think they picked after Minnesota, so Jefferson wasn't there, but there were guys available. They could have grabbed somebody and they could have helped Rodgers out, but instead they drafted Rodgers' replacement. So
yeah, and he's going to be butthurt about it, and with that new coaching staff, I don't think that it's going to be much different than it was with Mike McCarthy in that when they call in a play, if Rodgers doesn't like it, he's still going to be Rodgers, and he's still going to throw the football. So I would have loved to have seen an opportunity for Randall Cobb to come back into that offense, to be honest. I think that would have been a really great fit, having him in the slot. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. I was ready to go out and get a Randall Cobb jersey. So I guess I probably could.
Maybe we'll do a toilet board thing between Rodgers and Ryan. I don't know if we have. I don't know if we have either of them on the board already. If we don't, because I don't want to double dip on the same player. If we don't, let's do something where I'll take Ryan and you'll take Rodgers. All right.
I can tell you right now if we've got it on the board bet.
Just a simple 1v1, you know?
We have nothing for Rodgers or Ryan on the board bet.
All right. So just straight up, my Ryan versus your Rodgers. All right.
Sounds great.
Let's do a thing where we'll put a note. If they don't play 16, then it'll be like the average of their 10 games, equal to the average of somebody's 16 games. All right.
Right. Sounds good.
So to make it fair,
especially for me, since Rodgers is the one that's more likely to get hurt.
All right, we'll keep it fair. Now the next one is interesting. So Rodgers and Ryan were tied at 8th, but we'll say Rodgers was 9th in our rankings due to the average. Josh Allen was at 10th. I had him 9th. Nate had him 9th. You had him 13th. So we were all pretty high on him. You had him just outside the first QB1s. We had him, and it's just, I think, the guy can move. He's a big guy, and he's got, Add and Diggs. I think, I think we saw Dak. His accuracy has gotten better. He's a big physical guy with a strong arm, and I think we're going to hope that Josh Allen's kind of walking the similar path. This year you're going to see his deep ball a little more accurate, his intermediate routes a little more accurate, and John Brown, Stephon Diggs, Cole Beasley. So I like him there. Now, do I feel comfortable buying him at the 9th quarterback? I don't know, because there's a little uncertainty. But if it's one QB league, and you could get him in like the 8th or 9th, because QBs go a little later, I'm confident. I'll take him there. Then we had Stafford right after Josh Allen, who you had 9th, I had 11th, Nate had 12th, and I feel like Allen and Stafford both have similar upside. Those are two guys that are going to have monster weeks, monster weeks. And then right after that, we had Wentz, who I was the lowest of out of everybody. We had Wentz 12th. You and Nate had him at 11, and I had him at 15. The reason I have him at 15 is kind of similar to my Aaron Rodgers thing. Who's he going to throw the ball to? Well, it seems he's going to be throwing the ball 100 times to Miles Sanders out of the backfield, and Sanders is going to go for about 800. So I guess I got to factor that in. But Jalen Reagor is probably his wide receiver 1 right now. And, rookies are going to take a little bit of a hit, with the lack of training camp. So his number 1 wide receiver coming out the gate is taking a hit. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside looked good in preseason last year, but looked terrible during the regular season. So Wentz is good. Wentz is good. He's tough. But who is he throwing the ball to? I just don't know. I don't feel confident with him as a quarterback 1.
So my thing with Wentz is that when he's healthy, he finds a guy. He'll find a way. Right. The 15 rank that you gave him makes sense from that aspect because the guy can't stay healthy. But I think that if he can stay healthy, though, he'll find a guy. He'll find Ertz. He'll find Goddard. He'll find if Alshon can stay healthy. Deshaun Watson, if Watson is able to stay healthy, I think he really wants to get in one more good last season. And by that, I'd say like 6 games would be one really good season for him. So I don't know. You piece them together. I'm probably not drafting him. This is just kind of an estimate of where I think he should lie by the end of the season. But there's so many question marks, like you said, that I don't think that I'm gonna target Wentz in any league necessarily. He would have to really drop. As far as Allen goes, so it wasn't so much that I'm down on Allen more than you guys. I think it's more that there were a couple other guys that we're going to be talking about later that I'm high on that kind of put them above him in my book. Because I agree with everything that you said with Allen, especially with him being able to move the pocket and run with the football. Plus, with Moss back there, I kind of think that they're going to really try to push the run game, and I think he could have a kind of a Cam Newton light type season back there with that run game. So he's going to get a lot of goal line opportunities with that big frame. And then with Stafford, for me, I look at the 8 games that he played last season, and I picture it over a 16-game season, and it's already better than what his previous few seasons have been, and he's always been consistent. Like, Stafford is that guy in every single draft, or redraft anyway, every single redraft that I'll get after in double-digit rounds, 10, 11, 12th round, and I'm going to be starting him maybe a third or a fourth of the weeks, but he's going to finish in the top 10. He's always going to be good. And he might occasionally have a 3-touchdown game to Marvin Jones out of nowhere. So that's my consideration on those guys.
I love having Stafford as my QB2 in Superflex.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, you need to have a third guy like a Daniel Jones, who we're going to talk about, or Ryan Tannehill, to put in as your QB3 for those weeks that, if Stafford's hurt. But I love having him as a QB2 because his upside, dude's a gunslinger. He's a gunslinger. All right, so we had Stafford, Wentz, and then at 13 we had Brady, who I was the highest out of all of us with 10. Nate was right in the middle of us at 13, and you were at 16. So I think I might be drinking a bit of the Kool-Aid here, with all the weapons he has. So it's almost like you could see my thought process, why I broke down, Wentz and Rodgers, but then, they might be a little more talented than Brady, but Brady I'm higher on because he's got Chris Godwin and Mike Evans and Rob Gronkowski and OJ Howard. So, do I think Brady can consistently throw the ball 50 yards downfield? No. But I think you're going to see lots of slants, comeback routes, back shoulder. What's that?
Vaughn out of the backfield.
Yeah.
The next James White.
Next what?
The next James White.
Yes. Yeah. So, I think Brady, he's another guy that, like I talked about Ryan, I just feel like he's a lock to be a QB1.
I mean, you might be drinking the Kool-Aid just a little bit, but that's some pretty good Kool-Aid to drink in that offense. So, I mean, that's like the tropical punch blue flavor. Like that's good Kool-Aid. But for me, maybe I'm leaning more the other way because he still has that whole we beat up on the Colts for over a decade sort of thing. So maybe that's where I'm down on him. I don't know, but I think you're going to see a pretty similar offense for the most part, but you're going to have better talent around him. So he hasn't been a solid fantasy quarterback in some time, Brady, but he could be this year. He could make a bounce back. I do like all the tools around him for fantasy because I do think that Godwin could break one wide open, and that Mike Evans is going to give him that 50-50 go get him guy that he hasn't had in New England since Randy Moss, and so he's got the tools. It's just I'm just not able to buy into him right now, and especially since we're talking right now low end QB1. I just don't know, like if I'm gonna have a QB1. I don't know that I can trust Brady. I don't know that I want to trust him as my QB1.
All right. Well, after Brady, we got Daniel Jones at 14th, who that's right where you had him. You have him 14th. I had him 13th. Nate has him 16th. Then we had, I think with Daniel Jones, it's safe to say if he can cut down on the turnovers, if Evan Ingram can stay healthy, if he can continue to connect with Darius Slayton, Golden Tate, and now Saquon, he's going to do his thing. I think Daniel Jones is a great option for QB2. I think he's on the rise. Ryan Tannehill. I have him at 17. Nate has him at 17. You have him at 10. Me having him at 17 before you discuss why you have him so high, it's not a knock on him. I think he's a high floor guy. I just don't think the ceiling is there. I think he's going to consistently, like, he's another guy. If I'm starting him as my QB2, I'm comfortable. I don't want to put him in as my QB1, but I know if I put him in my QB2, I'm going to get like 17, 18 points weekly. So I know him and AJ Brown are going to connect. Hopefully, Jonnu Smith takes a step. And but they like to run the football. So sell me on him as your QB10.
Well, that's what I'm banking on. Is we all know those few games last season at the end of the season where he ended up being like the QB3 over the last 4 or 5 game span or whatever it was. And I think that a huge part of that was because AJ Brown was coming on, and everybody, the defenses have to put 8 or 9 in the box against Derrick Henry. The guy is an animal. So if they're going to put 8 or 9 in the box to try to stop Derrick Henry, then Tannehill has the accuracy and the knowledge. He's a smart guy. He's a smart quarterback to be able to hit those hot reads. And if Jonnu Smith does take that jump that we think that he could take, and AJ Brown continues to get better as well, then I could see him having a lot of like you said, that he's kind of that constant steady Eddie kind of guy. He doesn't really have breakout games. He didn't with Miami either, but I think he could if these tools, these weapons that he has, jump like we're anticipating they might. And if he has those kind of weeks, and there's going to be some weeks where you're going to be happy that you had him in your starting lineup. So I'm comfortable as a low end QB1 to take that high floor, and then hope that he has some breakout games.
So right after him, we have Kirk Cousins at 16, who you have at 12. I have at 18. Nate has at 15. So maybe I should discuss why I have him so low. He's another guy where, I think he's boom or bust. I think he's inconsistent. Whereas Tanny, I have at 17. I feel like he's consistently got a high floor, but not, going to have those breakout games that we're hoping he's going to have. Cousins, on the other hand, he has those breakout games, but I feel like, you don't know when they're coming. I think getting rid of Diggs is a huge hit. I think Justin Jefferson is a huge get. But again, same kind of deal with Rager. They're coming in, as possibly the wide receiver 1, and I think it's going to take a while to get acclimated. With CeeDee Lamb, he doesn't have to be the wide receiver 1. He's going to have Cooper and Gallup there. I think it's going to make it easier on him. He'll get in there. But now Justin Jefferson, if he's expected to get in there day 1, be the wide receiver 1. I know you still got Thielen, but Thielen's not getting any younger. So, I want to see what Thielen looks like this year. Does Olabisi Johnson take a step? There was a lot of buzz with him last year. I have him in a few dynasty leagues. I'd pick him up if he's available in some of your leagues. But I'm just not really sold. Cousins is a guy I don't really own many places, so I don't think I have him anywhere. So, but you tell me, you have him as your last QB1. So what are your thoughts?
So towards the end of the season there, he finally started to go away from Kyle Rudolph as much and started to lean more towards Irv Smith. So that has a lot to do with it for me, because Jefferson has that breakaway ability to get open down the field. And Thielen, like you said, he's getting older. He's starting to hit that age, that plateau that we don't like to see with wide receivers. But I still think he's got another good year in him. And then so I think that they could really open that field for Irv Smith and be that cushion or that hot route for Cousins that he needs. That's probably my biggest thing for being pro Cousins, but also this whole thing where these rookie wide receivers aren't necessarily getting the work that they should. I totally agree with that, but at the same time, Jefferson is on that COVID list right now, right. And you and I chatted, I believe, with Nate about how we think this is a good thing right now, like for them to be on the COVID list.
Disclaimer: we don't think it's good that anybody's sick.
Oh yeah, no. Oh God. Yeah.
The conversation was, we are hearing, Nate expressed fear, that being on this list as a rookie or being on this list in general, heading into camp, is going to put you behind. and that's going to affect your season. Me and Justin, on the other hand, we believe if it's true that you can only get it once, or at least you're immune to it for X amount of time after you get it, you have the antibodies, then that means you don't have to worry about this player getting it throughout the season, and therefore it should bring a little comfort in owning this guy. You're not going to put him on the IR for COVID.
Right. Another reason why I have Zeke Elliott so high on my list with all those running backs. You got that bunch of 4 bunched up there together, and obviously CMC's the number 1. So that next 2, 3, 4.
My friend. We'll talk about who's number 1 next episode.
Okay, so numbers 2, 3, 4, and 5 on most people's list can be kind of interchangeable. That's a huge tiebreaker for me that Zeke's already had COVID, because I don't have to worry about him getting it in week 2 and missing 2 or 3 weeks. So, but back to my what I was saying about Jefferson. In my mind, if he's out there, like he's been out and about, he's not just going to a movie theater. He's a professional NFL player right before his first rookie season. He probably got it because he's been out there putting in the work when he shouldn't have been. But he
played until January. So he's he's less far removed from playing than most of these other guys. These guys stopped in November. This dude's he played till January.
Right. So I mean, there's a lot of pro for Jefferson, but I just really like Jefferson. I also saw the video. I believe I shared it. I don't know if I shared it on my Twitter or if I shared it on the Toilets and Titles, but where the Vikings were talking about taking a wide receiver, but they had to get a plan B together because the Eagles drafted before them, and they knew the Eagles wanted a wide receiver. So they were talking about how, well, they're going to take Jefferson. So what's our next bet? We need to line up? And they started talking about other options, and they were like, hey guys, the pick's in, we're up. And they looked and they said, oh my God, they took Rager. And they got all excited, and they were like, oh yeah, put it in. And the owner said, hey, the owner, or I forget who it was, but somebody said, put in the pick, and coach is over there saying, I've already got it. I'm already in. I'm already putting it in. They were that excited to get Jefferson.
That's awesome.
I think we're going to see a lot of packages revolved around him early on. So I think it's a huge boost for Cousins as well.
All right. So we'll these next few, we're not going to spend too much time on. We had Cam after Cousins, basically tied at 16. I had Cam at 14. Nate had him at 14. You have him at 17. So we all have him. This is high-end QB2. Big Ben came in at 18. Nate had him at 18. I had 19. You at 21. Then we had Rivers, followed by Mayfield, followed by Goff. Goff, I think I was the highest on. I had him. I had him at 16. You had him at 29, and Nate had him at 20. So just real quickly, I saw enough. Not last year, but the year prior, to see that this guy can really get the ball all over the field. He was QB 15 last year, and then 2 years ago, he had to have been top 10. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head. But he's still got weapons, and they're going to be chucking. So at QB 16, I don't think that's too high for him. But clearly, you have him, basically almost a QB 3. But we'll see. I have him a little closer to QB 1 than you guys. Then we had Drew Lock at 22. We all, surprisingly around the same area. You were a little lower than me and Nate. Me and Nate had him at 2021. I think getting Jerry Jeudy next to Cortland Sutton definitely, stepped him up a little bit. And this is the year he's got to get it done. We talked about him in the past, but this is a big year for him. It's show up or ship out, one or the other. After that, we had Jimmy Garoppolo at 23. You had him at 23. I had him at 23. Nate had him at 22. So we were all very close. And then Derek Carr, you were the highest on him at 18. I have him at 26. Nate has him at 26. My belief is that Marcus Mariota is going to finish the season as the Raiders quarterback. We're going to talk about our board. That's going to be, we're going to have some bets between each other on this board, and we're also going to have some bold predictions. Foreshadowing, this is one of my bold predictions. Mariota is going to start more games than Carr. After that, we got Minshew. We're all right around the same spot, 24, 24, 23. I think he's a guy who he's basically our first QB3, having him at 25. But if this is a guy where like you have a Stafford, where I talked about earlier, and you want to have a third QB just for, in case injuries pop up or whatever, Minshew or bad matchups, Minshew's a guy who I think is a great matchup play. If you could start him 3 or 4 times in a 2 QB league, I think you're golden. There's really no need to start a guy like Minshew if you're in a 1 QB league, unless the matchup is excellent. But in 2 QB leagues, if I'm starting him as my QB2, I'm feeling pretty comfortable. After that, we got Haskins. We were all pretty close on him. And then Teddy Bridgewater, who you were the highest. You had him at 22. Me and Nate had him at 27. So I think some of these guys that really stand out to me, that'll be interesting to see as the season comes on. I'm interested to see what Bridgewater looks like. I'm interested to see what Haskins looks like. I'm interested to see what Drew Lock looks like. And I'm interested to see what Baker Mayfield looks like. Those 4 guys, I just think it's going to say a lot this season, how they play. I think the verdict is still out on them, but it'll be very fun to watch. I want to see, does Haskins step up, and take the reins of the Washington football team? Does that happen?
Yeah. So, yeah, I think so with Haskins, especially with Geis. I think that Geis is going to come on strong. I'm a big believer in, after they come back from a knee injury, give them a full season. So I wasn't on Geis last season because I want to give them a full season to get their knees under them, get their feet back under them. And I didn't take Geis anywhere last season. And I'm not tooting my horn saying that I saw another injury coming, because I didn't see that coming. And when he did start to come around, he started to show flashes of what he can be. So I almost ate my words on that one. But then he did get hurt again because they didn't ease him into it and they didn't give him that full season. So now he's got that full season, because his knee injuries last season weren't like super serious or completely, like, he didn't completely rip ACL or anything. It was just complications from the previous injury. So with Geis back on, Haskins leans on him. He's got Sims, he's got McLaurin, he's got Gibson now, who I think is an athlete. The more that I've finally been able to start watching him, because I'm not like you, Coach. I don't watch these guys in college when they're in college. Like, I wait until after they're drafted and then go back and watch some guys that people are talking about. And I like Gibson, I really do. So they're going to use him as a wide receiver, as a running back, whatever. He might even be a backup quarterback. Who knows? Yeah. But so I like his opportunity, but unfortunately we got to see it first before we start to trust to draft him.
All right. Well, that does it for our quarterback rankings. So again, we're going to, once we get this up on Josh's website, we'll post the link so you guys can check it out. We're going to, probably within the next few days, we're going to get our running back. We're going to record a running back rankings episode, our wide receivers, our tight ends, and then all of that, we'll get that posted up on the interwebs so you guys can use this to help you, if you'd like, for your redraft drafts coming up. I know it's redraft season, so we want to help you prepare. And again, to help you prepare, next week on Friday, we're going to be recording an episode with Shane Hallam and Bob Harris where we're going to do a redraft mock. So I said we're going to do like 10 to 12 rounds. We'll decide on whether 1 QB or 2 QB. You guys can chime in, let us know what you prefer. It'll be PPR, and we'll get that out there as another tool to help you guys to draft and to hopefully succeed and win yourself some money or some bragging rights this year. So you guys do know that you could find us on Twitter. You could find us at Toilets to Titles, okay? You could find the guy next to me, Justin, at JustinFF_. You could find me at Coach Schepps, and Nate, who is our sometimes co-host, who ain't here right now, he's at Nate_Dirt19. You could find us on Apple Podcasts. You could find us in Podbean, YouTube, Periscope. Subscribe, like, comment, review, all that stuff is greatly appreciated. As I said earlier, we extended to August 3rd. That's when we're going to decide on the Frankenstein League. Okay, so make sure subscribe on YouTube. Send us a picture of your subscribe. Follow us on Twitter. Send us a picture of your follow. Write a review on Apple Podcasts. Send us a picture of that. Okay, and then we're going to pick one person who submits an Apple review, and then one of either our YouTube subscribers or our Twitter followers, and then we're going to get rolling. Go back, if you're interested in this, go back and listen to our episode where we discussed the Frankenstank League, because it's going to be a lot of fun. We're starting with rock, paper, scissors competition, decide draft order, and then we got some twists to go from there. So I think that about covers everything. Justin, am I missing anything, man?
No, I do want to kind of tease. I think you and I need to do a one of our morning, like 9 o'clock in the morning type episodes where we do the board bets and the bold predictions, because that list is getting pretty high. We're over an hour now. There's no way we can get to it now, and we keep putting it off. But I want to get it.
Maybe we'll start our running back episode with that. You know, maybe we'll do like 10, 15 minutes on that, and then get into our running back rankings. Maybe we'll record Monday. All right.
That's fine too. Okay. All right. Well, no, other than that, just as usual, just love each other. We're all in this together. We're going to get through it. And even after we're through it, how about we still keep loving each other, you know? Because I kind of like the way things are on the upswing in my mind. I know the numbers are up, and I know everything's still crappy, but I still feel like we're all really we got each other's back. So that part of it, I feel like, is hopefully getting better. So.
All right, guys, you heard it there. That's it, and we will catch y'all next episode. Make sure to tune in Friday. Next Friday is going to be a banger. We'll probably record something before that, but Friday is going to be a banger, so get prepared. Take care.